Fluent Talk Podcast
from SayAndLearn.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know, this is the show where we take these huge stacks of information, articles, guides, research, and we boil it all down for you.
We find the actionable knowledge.
Exactly. We give you that shortcut to sounding like you've done all the reading so you can catch the surprising facts and really understand the deep structure of things.
And today we're diving into something that, it touches on human nature, social dynamics, a little bit of subtle power. We are looking at the language of hospitality. Specifically, we're doing a kind of micro-linguistic, almost a social engineering analysis of what it takes to be a truly excellent host.
That's right. And our source material today is, it's a bit unusual. It actually comes from a basic language lesson. It's a guide teaching simple English phrases for welcoming guests to a party. You know, a casual dinner, a pizza night.
And if you just skim it, it looks so simple, like just a list of phrases.
Right. But when you start looking at why it recommends certain phrases over others, you realize, oh, this isn't just about language. It's a full manual on social grace, on psychological comfort, and even on managing guest anxiety.
Precisely. We're moving past just, mere translation. We're analyzing the difference between just speaking the words and actually truly connecting with a guest.
So our mission is to pull out these universal rules of just stellar hosting by looking at the impact of one phrase versus another.
The mediocre versus the intentional.
And the core insight, and we're going to keep coming back to this, is that hosting is all about making people feel happy and comfortable. That's it. It's not really about the food or how clean your house is.
No, it's about the feeling you transmit. And the specific words you choose, they define that whole experience. They can turn a simple action into this powerful gesture of welcome.
We're looking for that special language, the stuff that elevates just opening a door or offering a drink into an act of, genuine, memorable connection.
We're basically turning a phrase book into a blueprint for emotional comfort. So let's jump in at the very beginning of the encounter. The moment that sets the tone for everything else.
The critical first impression.
The doorbell moment.
Okay, so ding dong, the doorbell rings. And that sound, it's like a little explosion of anxiety, isn't it, for both the host and the guest?
For sure. For the host, it's that switch. You go from preparation mode to performance mode.
And for the guest, they're their most vulnerable, just, standing outside, waiting to be led into someone else's space.
And the source material really stresses this. This is your moment of maximum leverage. You have maybe 30 seconds to get this right.
And if you mess it up.
If you botch this, if you open that door looking stressed or, indifferent, the guest just absorbs that stress immediately. And you'll spend the whole night trying to fix it.
So the host has to project genuine happiness, warmth. And it's not just a smile, it's in the words.
Which brings us to the opening line. The guide gives us the power phrase, which is, I am so glad you could come.
Okay, let's stop there. Let's unpack those 7 words. Because why is that so much more effective than just, a perfectly fine, hi, come in, or even just, hello?
Well, hi is purely transactional, isn't it?
It is. You say hi to the person at the coffee shop. It's the bare social minimum. It does nothing more.
Exactly. But I am so glad you could come. That validates the entire effort the guest made to get there.
Oh, that's a great point. You're acknowledging the friction. The traffic they sat in, finding parking, maybe rushing from work.
Absolutely. You're not just acknowledging them, you're validating them by saying, I am so glad you could come. You're making it personal. Your presence specifically was desired. It makes them feel valued, not just, tolerated.
It immediately sets the standard. This isn't just a casual encounter. This is a special interaction.
And you have to deliver it with eye contact and that big smile the source talks about. The nonverbals have to match the words. If you say it while looking over their shoulder at something burning on the stove, the words are useless.
The source also gives an alternative for close friends, which I thought was interesting. It shifts the focus a little bit. It is so good to see you.
Yeah, and that's different. It leans more into shared history, into affection. I'm so glad you could come. It's about the logistics of their successful arrival.
Right.
But it is so good to see you is about the relationship. It implies a deeper bond, a comfort that's already there. Both work, but they target different emotional frequencies.
So, okay, the emotional welcome is done. Now for the logistics. Getting the guest from outside to inside. They're kind of stuck in that awkward doorway limbo.
And here, the simple request can go 2 ways. You have the very polite, very effective, but maybe a little formal, please come in.
Works fine. It's safe.
But the guide points out the subtle genius of the more casual phrase. Come on in.
And we should really spend a second on this because that little word on is doing so much heavy lifting there. What's the psychological difference?
The difference is the immediate vibe you're setting for the party. Please come in. Keeps a slight formal distance. It respects the boundary, between your private world and the public one.
It's an instruction.
It is, but come on in. It just dissolves that boundary instantly. That on creates a sense of invitation, of shared momentum. It's like a small, warm push into the space.
Well, it's less about getting permission and more about active inclusion.
Exactly. You, the host, are already relaxed, and you're signaling to your guest that they should be too. The formalities are already over. It's a performance of comfort, and it's incredibly powerful for setting the atmosphere right from the jump.
Okay, so now the guest is inside, but they're still holding their stuff. They have baggage, literally. So we move to managing belongings. The coat, the closet.
And this seems mundane, but it's not. If a guest is holding a bulky coat, they physically cannot relax. They can't shake a hand. They can't take a drink. They are encumbered.
So the host's immediate offer of assistance is it's fundamental hospitality.
The guide gives us the formal option. May I take your coat? Which is very polite. It gives the guest the choice.
Which is nice, but I think I prefer the more action-oriented one.
Me too. Let me take your coat for you. It just removes the cognitive burden from the guest. You're not asking them to decide, you're just taking care of it.
But then, and this is a critical detail the guide points out, where does the coat go?
Right. It warns against just tossing it on the sofa or a bed in the spare room.
Which is what a lot of people do.
It is. And that one detail is a huge indicator of genuine consideration versus just, surface level politeness. If you take their coat and then just dump it, you're saying you value the appearance of hospitality over actually respecting their property.
Whereas hanging it up nicely in a closet.
It shows organization, it shows care, and it reinforces that feeling that the guest is truly being taken care of. It's the difference between a gesture and an actual process of care.
Okay, so from coats we get to the big one. The topic that has probably caused more quiet social friction than anything else in modern hosting.
The sensitive topic of shoes.
The great shoe dilemma. It's just ripe for social awkwardness because it's a host enforcing a private house rule on a public behavior.
A masterful host sees this coming and uses language to just diffuse all that tension. If you want the shoes off, it cannot sound like a command. The polite way in is, would you mind taking off your shoes? The source calls this gentle.
And that gentleness is key because it's a request, not an order. But I really love the social strategy and the next phrase it suggests. We usually leave our shoes by the door.
That phrasing is a masterclass. It's genius. You're externalizing the rule.
Exactly. It's not, I am telling you to take off your shoes.
This is the established cultural norm of this specific house. By using we usually, the host isn't the source of the command anymore. The house is. It's completely non-confrontational.
And so effective. And then, of course, if you don't care about shoes, you have to be just as clear to remove the guest's anxiety. You can leave your shoes on. Don't worry about it.
And that simple assurance just lifts this huge mental weight off them.
So this whole sequence, the greeting, the coat, the shoes, it all happens in what, the first 2 minutes?
If that. And it completely defines the level of respect and comfort for the rest of the entire night. It's all about intentional linguistic choices.
So the guest is inside, they're respected, their coat is hung up. Now the host's focus shifts from the entry to immediate physical comfort. And the first priority, as the source reminds us, is a drink.
Hospitality 101. But just like the greeting, the language of the offer matters so much. The source critiques the common but not great approach asking a really specific question.
Like, do you want water? Which it calls only okay.
Right. And why is that just okay? Because it forces the guest into a corner. They either have to accept something they might not want or feel awkward asking for something else.
It forces an immediate, small social negotiation, and you don't want that.
No. The superior approach is the open question, which signals abundance and generosity. Can I get you something to drink?
It implies you have options, and you're happy to provide whatever they prefer.
And you can make it even easier by listing a few of those options. We have water, juice, soda. It just gives them a safe mental list to pick from. No awkward guessing.
But we have to address the reality of a busy host. You've got a pizza in the oven, more people are arriving. You can't be a personal bartender all night.
Which brings us to the self-service solution. And the language here is vital.
It is. The phrase is, please help yourself to a drink. This is the key to maintaining hospitality without burning yourself out.
And let's do a deep dive right here on help yourself. The source says it's very friendly, and it signals this fundamental shift in trust. It basically says to the guest, this is your house for the next few hours, too.
Okay, let me push back on that a little bit because I think the tone here is everything. Isn't there a risk that help yourself could sound like, I'm too busy for you, go get it yourself?
That is an excellent point.
Hmm.
And the distinction is all in the sequencing and the nonverbals. If you say, help yourself right after you've already offered to get them one, and then you point out where everything is. For example, can I get you a drink? We've got lots in the fridge, so please help yourself to anything you like. That's generosity. If you just open the door and say, drinks are in the fridge, help yourself, that feels like dismissal.
So it's a proactive delegation, not a reactive deflection.
Perfectly put. It signals inclusion and trust. It empowers the guest.
Okay, so they have a drink, they're settled. But now we have to address what is probably the single largest source of unspoken anxiety for any guest early in a party.
The need for the bathroom.
The dreaded bathroom query. People are so shy about it, they feel awkward interrupting to ask, so they might just hold it or start wandering around.
And this is the definitive moment of truly excellent, what we call preemptive hosting.
Yes.
The host anticipates this basic need before the guest even has to say anything. You just avoid all that potential awkwardness.
And the solution is the brief, casual mini tour. You do it right after the drink is in their hand as you're guiding them to the main room.
And the key phrase is so simple. Let me show you around. It's casual, it's quick, and it gives them immediate orientation.
And the directions have to be simple and clear. You know, the kitchen is here, living room's through there, and the bathroom is just down the hall on the left.
That's the perfect combination. You've shown them the social hub and the essential private necessity. And that little 30-second act saves the guest from so much potential anxiety later on. It shows you're thinking a few steps ahead for them.
And that's the real takeaway here, isn't it? Reducing their cognitive load. Being a guest takes mental energy. A great host minimizes that effort so the guest can just focus on having a good time.
It's a gift of relaxation. And once you've handled the coat, the shoes, the drink, and the bathroom, the host is finally ready to step into their most demanding role.
The social conductor.
Guests are comfortable, they're reassured. Now the host has to become the orchestrator of the social dynamics. This is what makes a gathering a real party.
Especially when you have friends from different circles who don't know each other. You know, Tom from work doesn't know Sarah from the gym.
And this is where so many well-intentioned parties just fail. If you let people stand silently or just scroll on their phones, the party atmosphere dies. The source is very clear about this. Silence is bad at a party.
Because it breeds anxiety and isolation. And then people leave early, so the host has to be the introducer.
Right. And the source gives us the two standard ways in. The slightly more formal, Tom, I would like you to meet Sarah.
Which is nice, very respectable.
Or the more casual, Tom, have you met Sarah? But regardless of the opener, the critical next step is providing context.
Yes, you have to tell them who the other person is in relation to you. Sarah, this is Tom, he works with me. Tom, Sarah, and I play tennis together.
That context is the conversational handshake. It gives them some immediate background, but the real social engineering, the move that lets the host actually step away, is creating a conversation topic for them.
This is so crucial. If you just introduce them and leave, they're going to default to the most boring small talk. So how was the drive?
Right. The host has to be the spark plug. You have to build the bridge between them. And you do that by giving them immediate common ground.
The source gives such simple examples like, Tom, Sarah loves pizza too.
Which is okay, but we can do better. Let's build on that. It's not just Sarah loves pizza. It should be, Tom, Sarah loves pizza too, especially with spicy toppings. You two should compare notes on that new place downtown.
Oh, see, that's so much better. You've given them a specific shared task. Compare notes. It's a structured conversation starter.
Precisely. If you just say, Sarah loves movies, it's too broad. But if you say, Sarah just saw that new historical movie, and Tom, you're a huge history buff, right? You two should talk about that. You've engineered a connection that requires zero effort from them to get started.
You found the overlap in their Venn diagram and pointed a big arrow at it.
And once you've launched that topic, you, the host, can successfully leave them to it. You've empowered them. You haven't abandoned them.
It's the highest level of social hosting. It shows you cared enough to make sure they wouldn't just stand there awkwardly.
And this whole orchestration idea, it extends beyond just the people. The host sets the vibe of the room itself, the music, the lights. The source mentions the host has a playlist of jazz music.
Right, and that choice immediately signals a calm, sophisticated vibe. It's background music, it invites conversation, it doesn't dominate it.
The vibe check is essential. If the music's too loud or the lights are too bright, it creates physical discomfort that overrides all your verbal kindness.
So once that vibe is set and people are starting to talk, the host can offer the ultimate invitation to relax. The phrase we all know, but its power is immense: please make yourself at home.
This is the psychological summit of the welcome. If you ask people what this means, they'll say, relax, sit on the sofa, don't be formal, be happy.
The source calls it the best thing a host can say. And let's break that down. Why is it so powerful?
Because it's an active abdication of formal expectation. It's explicit permission to stop performing the role of guest and just become a comfortable participant.
It grants them psychological freedom. That little mental checklist of, should I sit here? Can I touch that? It's just temporarily suspended.
It's an offer of trust. It says, I trust you to respect my space, so please be maximally comfortable within it.
But speaking of comfort and sitting, the source makes a really careful distinction about how you invite someone to sit. It goes back to that idea of agency.
Yes, you never issue a command. The source critiques the phrase sit down. It calls it a blunt order.
It does feel a little authoritarian, doesn't it? It makes the guest feel subservient.
It does, and instead it promotes, please have a seat in the living room, which it calls a gentle invitation. And that is so much better.
That tiny switch, have a seat versus sit down, it's a masterclass in respecting the guest's dignity.
It's all about agency. An invitation gives them the dignity of accepting. An order strips that away. Good hosting is always about maximizing the guest's freedom and minimizing any sense of being controlled.
So if the host is constantly thinking that way, how to reduce effort, how to maximize freedom, then the party is pretty much guaranteed to be a success.
Assuming the pizza is decent, and assuming the host understands that this effort has to be maintained right up to the very last moment. Because a good party isn't just about the middle, it's about the strong finish.
Right. We've reached the end of the night, the conversations are winding down, and guests are starting to leave. This is the art of the exit, and it's so critical. Psychologists talk about the peak end rule, right?
That's a powerful way to frame it. Yes, the peak end rule. Our memory of an experience is almost entirely defined by its most intense moment, the peak, and how it ends.
So the host has to manage this exit perfectly to cement the positive memory of the whole night.
If the exit is rushed or awkward, it can actually taint the memory of all the fun that came before. You have to stay engaged.
And the first physical act is non-negotiable. Even if people stay really late, the host has to personally walk them to the door.
Absolutely. No waving from the couch. Walking them to the door shows that for that final exchange, they have your complete focused attention. It honors their effort one last time.
And this is where that earlier organization pays off. Retrieving the coat. If you hung it up nicely, it's a seamless action. No fumbling through a messy pile of jackets.
Then you move to the final words, starting with gratitude. The essential closing statement. Thank you so much for coming. Again, it reinforces that their presence wasn't taken for granted.
But it has to be paired with a personal expression of enjoyment from the host's side. This is where the sincerity really comes in. I had a great time.
And that statement is surprisingly crucial for the guest's final psychological state. Because a lot of guests, deep down, have this little anxiety, was I interesting enough? Did I talk too much? When the host says, I had a great time, it's his final gift of reassurance. It validates the guest's contribution to the evening. It tells them, you were a success. The interaction was positive for me too.
And finally, the last phrase, which is just a pure act of care, the one that's designed to linger as they leave: get home safe.
The source material really focuses on the emotional impact of that phrase.
It does.
And it's right to, because that phrase extends the circle of your hospitality beyond the walls of your home. It shows you care about their well-being even after they've left your party. It's a genuine, human, warm sentiment.
It just provides that final layer of warmth, wrapping up the whole thoughtful experience from, I'm so glad you could come at the beginning, to wishing them safety at the very end.
And if you look at the big picture takeaway from all of this, it's that the foundation of good hosting is just genuine kindness and friendliness. If you have that, the right words tend to follow.
The phrases are just the high-efficiency packaging for that kindness.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, your friends just want to see you and, yes, eat the pizza. But they want to do it in an environment where they feel completely comfortable and respected. And the host's language is the invisible architecture that builds that environment.
Wow. We have just dissected an entire social evening, minute by minute, just by looking at a few simple conversational prompts. It's amazing how much social science is hiding in plain sight.
It really is. We started with that connection at the door. I'm so glad you could come.
And the boundary dissolving, come on in. Then we move through logistics, granting agency with please help yourself, and getting ahead of anxiety with preemptive hosting, pointing at the bathroom.
Then we got to the social conductor phase, where we realized just introducing people isn't enough. You have to proactively connect them with a shared interest to get a real conversation started.
And the ultimate permission slip. Make yourself at home. Delivered as an invitation, never an order.
And finally, that crucial exit. Managing it with a peak end rule in mind, cementing the memory with mutual assurance, I had a great time, and get home safe.
It really reinforces this idea that an entire night can be planned, just using simple, effective language that prioritizes your guests' comfort.
So our final analysis really confirms that hosting is special. It takes foresight, it takes emotional labor, and being a guest, by contrast, is wonderfully relaxing.
You just show up, enjoy the hospitality, and, as the source said, you just eat.
So this dive really encourages you, our listener, to think about your own role in these settings. Are you the proactive host, carefully engineering these linguistic choices? Or do you prefer being the guest, happily accepting that hospitality?
Because the skills are vastly different, but both roles are so essential.
Which leads us to our final provocative thought for you to take away, building on the idea that these welcoming phrases are, they're culturally relative.
Right. The source mentions that different cultures have totally different ways of expressing welcome, and that must shape the actual feeling of being welcomed.
So if the specific language we use actively determines the formality, the inclusion, and the freedom a guest feels, what cultural rules might be embedded in your own language about hosting?
Things you don't even consciously think about.
Exactly. Think about the etiquette around removing your shoes, or the right to help yourself to something in the fridge, or even the expectation of whether a guest should bring a gift.
How do those unspoken cultural and linguistic rules change the fundamental dynamic of comfort? Do they make a guest feel totally at ease, or always a little bit cautious and unsure of the rules?
Something to mull over the next time you open your door, or the next time you step into someone else's home, realizing that the simplest phrase can carry the weight of an entire social contract.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the language of welcome.
We'll catch you next time.